Alright, good day everyone. I am Rachel JT Palermo and I was assigned to discuss the TREAM framework. And here are the lesson objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the students must be able to first define the TREAM framework and explain its core components. Second, apply the TREAM framework to analyze a business case, identifying key elements such as target audience, available resources, innovative strategies, and market access to develop a comprehensive business strategy. And third, to demonstrate a positive attitude towards using structured frameworks like TREAM, understanding their value and organizing ideas, making strategic decisions, and adapting to challenges in the entrepreneurial process. So, what is TREAM framework? So, the TREAM framework is basically an acronym for team, resources, idea, and market. So, it is a planning tool that pinpoints the kinds of people essential to form the founding team, the resources at hand and required, the five defined points of the idea, and the possible market for the product or service. So the team, so this identifies essential people to form the founding team for the business. So these are the people who are essential or relevant upon running your business. The next is the resources. So it focuses on available and required resources to support the venture. So of course, in a business, we need to first identify and gather the essential resources for our business. The next is the idea. So it details the business concept and its unique value proposition. So this idea is essential, especially in the startup or in the beginning of our business, as well as in developing our unique value proposition that creates us an edge for another business. So next is the market. So analyzes the potential market for the product or service. So this analyzes your customer segments in selling your products. Alright, so there are several types of plans included in the TREAM framework, which consist of the back of a napkin, sketches a page, the business model canvas, the business brief, the feasibility study, the pitch deck, and the business plan. So first, we have here the back of the envelope or napkin. So the back of the envelope or napkin plan is a quick and rough estimation of a business or product idea that is written on any accessible scrap of paper such as an envelope or napkin. So basically it is better than a guess but not a precise calculation. So the important distinction of the back of the envelope or napkin estimations is the use of very simple assumptions. So this approach makes handy analysis of some costs to arrive at the net profit. So the inputs to this plan includes those variables and fixed costs such as materials, labors, rent, utilities, taxes, salaries, and startup costs. So since the amounts are all estimations, the exact peso amount need not to be considered. So sometimes an entrepreneur may just make a simple Google search or merely make an intelligent guess about the numbers. So entrepreneurs may have the leeway to overestimate but not to underestimate inputs listed in the back of the envelope of napkin. So with these inputs, the entrepreneur may somehow find out which items he can cut cost to increase his profit or margins. All right, so next we have the business model canvas. So I know that you're all familiar with this, but the business model canvas is a visual chart with elements describing a business or a product's value proposition, infrastructure, customers, and finances. So basically, it is a strategic management and lean startup outline for developing new or writing down existing business model of a venture. So it is used to align the business activities by detailing possible trade-offs. So there are 9 building blocks in this canvas as proposed by Alexander Osterwalder in 2005. So using his business model design template. So A business can easily define its business model. So next we have the business brief. So is a document that offers the explanation on the reason why a particular model leads to success in a given scenario. So this is used to endorse goods and services to customers, increase profits, offer solutions to industry problems, or intensity consumer awareness of a business activities. So besides promoting to make a purchase, it can also be written to sign up to attend a seminar, answer a survey, or respond to any other call to action incorporated at the end of the brief. So this is a written, persuasive, active voice to encourage customers or consumers and other companies to make investments in the business idea of an entrepreneur. So basically, this business brief, this can be compared to a legal brief that discusses arguments in line with the consumers or customers' interest for granting his wish. So a business brief is short, usually no more than 1 or 2 pages in length, but should cover sufficient information on whatever purpose it intends to serve. So in order to write a business brief, extensive research is required. So a business brief as a strategic mode must be creative to win customers and increase revenue. So most companies have shifted to writing business briefs in order to be competitive in the fast-paced business world. So it takes time and practice to write a good business brief. So a well-written business brief is becoming fewer in number these days. With the proper guidance and patience, an entrepreneur can surely compose a well-written business brief. So here are some suggestions for areas that should be emphasized in a good quality business brief. So first, describe completely the task or purpose. So in this business brief, the writer needs to describe fully the intention of the business brief. So purposes may include trying to gain partnerships in the industry, looking for sponsors, attract new partners, or raise funds for new ventures, or selling something to a particular group. Clearly identify the brief so that they can respond to appropriately. So the people listening to or reading the brief should have a clear purpose of their role in the business. So next is provide some background. So in order to gain the trust, confidence, and respect of the targeted or audience, there is a need to create a believable history. The background should reflect that the company and the product or service being represented has a positive record. So in writing the business brief, the concern is given enough information, certainly without making the brief dull and pointless. Consider too the selling points of the argument from an analytical and an emotional viewpoint. So next is explain fully what the target is. So provide a clear picture of who the target audience are. The business brief should describe the potential audience and the manner of gaining their interest. The group being addressed to or in the brief must visualize as if they are using regularly the product enough for them to make action in involving themselves to the purpose. So in the business brief, there must be an explanation on how the business will gain profit or how the intention should be beneficial, which will most likely be a very interesting to everyone. So next is time. So anyone who would be writing a business brief ought to give time to himself in preparing it. Likewise, the targeted audience must also be provided with a clear timeline of when and where events contained in the brief will be put into action. So there must be time to make research to write a very realistic brief. Sorry. So the next is the feasibility model, so or study rather. So a feasibility study is an assessment the the is an assessment the viability of a proposed project or a system. So it takes into account of all projects significant factors such as economic, technical, legal, and scheduling concerns. So the objective and rationale of a feasibility study is to find out the strengths and weaknesses of an existing business or proposed venture. At the same time, it tries to discover the opportunities and threats existing in the natural environment, the resources essential to carry through, and finally, the forecast for success. Hence, the two ways to assess a feasibility study are the cost needed and the value to be attained. So, the content of a well-written feasibility study include the history of the business, a detailed description of the product and or service, accounting statements, details of a functional areas, marketing research and policies, financial data, legal requirements, and tax obligations. So it must be done with an objective, impartial style to provide information upon which decisions can be based. Project managers usually make use of feasibility studies to recognize the access and scams of undertaking a project before they spend a lot of time and money into it. So, having a feasibility study before business planning can offer important information that show caution an entrepreneur in entering blindly into a risky business. So, likewise, a feasibility study is vital to business development. So, it permits a business to address where and how it will operate. It also identifies possible hindrance that may hamper its operations as well as to identify the amount of finances it will require to get the business smoothly running. So, a feasibility study includes marketing strategies that convince investors to place their money in a worthwhile business. So, here are the common elements in a feasibility study. So, first is executive summary. So, the most important page or pages of the study is a brief narrative describing details of the project, products, service, plan, or business which stakeholders read with interest. So it is always presented on the first two to three pages of a report that contain the summary of what has been found with the rest of the items in the study. So it is often easier and more concise to write it after the study has been completed so that the information to be included is already available. So next is clear project description. So an outline of the project as it is defined for the study can provide stakeholders the answers to their questions and help them know the result. So the project description allows the stakeholders to be accustomed with the idea or ideas presented in the study. So next is competitive landscape. So basically, this is a review of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats encountered by the venture under study. So the review will give important details necessary for decision making. Most entrepreneurs usually do not want to enter in a new market without knowing surely they can dominate in the market. So others choose to concentrate on gaining profits rather than the market. Whatever they select, the challenges and the consequences of failure must be clearly identified. So number four is operating requirements. So here the entrepreneurs can use this point in the report to remain distinct, concentrated, and balanced about the venture's real needs. An underestimation of the physical and fiscal resources essential for a new product or service frequently turn out with unsuccessful projects or unfulfilled promises. So, under the operating requirements, so first we have material requirements. So, this section includes parts and supplies needed to produce a product and the supplier. So, here the entrepreneur should indicate whether volume discounts will be available as business grows or if he plans to manufacture those parts needed at some point in time. So next is the labor requirements. So a business cannot operate without manpower, of course. So usually labor will be one of the business biggest small business expenses. So if not the biggest. So the number and types of employees needed to run the business now and in the future are included here. So next is the transportation and shipping requirements. So smaller items can be shipped via local carriers such as LBC, Lalamove, JNT, Speedy, and the rest. So however, heavier bulk items must be transported via a freight or trucking company. So there are required transportation and shipping requirements depends on the type of product. So for shipping perishable items, a proper container must be used to protect and secure the items in terms of bruising, breakage, or emissions of foul odor. So the container keeps the item at proper temperature and in airtight. So next is the marketing requirements. So describe it in detail how to reach the customer and let them know the business offering. So the entrepreneur should know exactly what type of promotional campaign he plans to launch. Here he should know the consumers he will target and explain the reasons why these people would want to buy from the business instead from the competitors. The next is the physical location, of course. The location of the business is strategic in nature and beneficial to its success. So, an entrepreneur may opt to have an office space inside his home, rent or buy a place for business purpose. So, here it must also be indicated whether there will be a need for warehouse facility, factory, or trucking facility. So, where this facility will be located must be in the physical location component of the feasibility study. The next is the technology requirements. So every business needs at least some kind of technology to run smoothly. So the technology component of a feasibility study should indicate details about telephone answering systems, computer hardware and software, and inventory management. Then lastly is a target date. So certainly investors would want to know the important dates in the study. Every single activity must be covered. So here, a GANTT chart would be useful tool would be a useful tool to create. The dates must be practical and reasonable, so there is no such thing as miraculous deadline. So number five is the financial projections. So most investors are interested over the financials in a feasibility study to make certain that a venture can generate the kind of ascertainable profits that merit their approval. So here the operating requirements and financial data should reconcile. So experts often recommend using the break-even analysis, which is a timeline view of the moment a venture can pay for itself. So lastly is the recommendations and findings. So this is a summary of all the previous feasibility study elements. The recommendations and findings can outline the results of a business proposal. So this section provides an opportunity to enhance a venture by pointing out areas of a business prospect. Certainly, having a great idea for a product or business is not enough. How an entrepreneur can make money from it is the best consideration. Alright, so we have here the next is the pitch deck. So a pitch deck, also known as an inventor pitch deck or a startup pitch deck, is the first communication instrument that provides an overview of the business in order to raise funds. So it is usually created using PowerPoint, Keynote, or Prezi to give audience a brief idea about the business venture. So this is usually presented to either on face-to-face or online meetings to possible investors, customers, partners, and co-founders. So unlike the business model canvas, so a pitch deck is a representative tool for the external audience preparing to represent rather the business model and structure for better understanding. So preparing a pitch deck is essential. So many good companies get rejected by the investors because of not so good pitch deck. So here is all the inclusion in a pitch deck. So the elevator pitch. So an elevator pitch is a quick synopsis of the idea, background, and experience. It always starts with an introductory text which provides an overview of the entire business strategy and the rest of the pitch deck. So this slide should be able to express who you are, what you do, and what you want to do. The next is the problem. So the second slide states the problem the target audience faces. So this makes it clear to the investors that a clear opportunity has been found by the entrepreneur and he is ready to capitalize on it. The next is the opportunity. So a problem leads to an opportunity which can be capitalized on. The entrepreneur may use charts, graphs, and numbers to validate his statements. The number four is solution. So this slide should discuss the likely solutions to the identified problems and should move on to a specific solution and the main reason for planning to choose it. So this part is an assurance that the audience will clearly understand and will clearly accept the solution. Then number five is the product. So this slide showcases the product and its numerous highlights. So these highlights can be presented into several slides. So the entrepreneur should ensure that he explains comprehensively the key highlights of the product. The next is the business model. So a business model is a theoretical structure that supports the feasibility of a product or a company. So the model includes the purpose and the goals of the company and how it proposes to realize them. So this is a vital section of the pitch deck because here the entrepreneur explains the economics of the business structure to the investors. It is composed of the operating structure, how to make money, the distribution channels, the gross margins, and of course the important items. So next is the competition. So this is a section where the entrepreneur convinces his investors that he has done his homework and knows about the competitors. So the slide should contain the list competitors include their positioning, strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities which are left unattended for the entrepreneur to tap into. So here are competitive landscape and position for the entrepreneur's company must be created as this or as his customers see it among the competition. The next is the key highlight. So the key highlight is a section where the entrepreneur compares himself with the competition and prove how he is better than them. There must be an explanation about the value proposition and the USP, which will give a valid reason to the investors to buy the proposal. The next is the marketing and sales. So this section includes the list of all the marketing and sales strategies to obtain, overcome, and to serve the existing and prospective customers of the product. So the slide must describe the marketing mix and the various sales channels the entrepreneur is using and is planning to use. The next is the management team. So this is one of the major section in which the investors are truly interested in is the management team section. Here the details of the management team are presented in terms of the qualifications, experiences, and dedication and how far are these individuals are planning to go with the entrepreneur. So the directors, key stakeholders, key advisors, other investors, if any, are part of this section. Then lastly is the key matrix, current status, and the future projections. So this is where the entrepreneur boasts his current standing and provide a 3 to 5 year forecast of his business. So in this section, he states his plan for future expenses, investment, and growth. So the next is the business plan. So most business experts value the time and effort being spent in writing a business plan, although some regard the plan as difficult, so time consuming and based on an unproven assumption. So others believe it is beneficial way to develop and organize ideas. So a business plan is necessary and relevant to the new entrepreneur. So here are some of the importance of a business plan when starting a business. So first is it helps in getting finances. So money is important to start or operate a business. So for a new business, the entrepreneur's savings and personal funds may not be enough to start his business. So those who are in business may wish to expand or try out new things or innovations, which will also require money. So in order for an entrepreneur to seek funds for his business by approaching investors, he needs a well-written business plan. Certainly, investors would like to see a plan of action to ensure that their investment is in safe hands. So, a well written business plan shows potential investors and various aspects of the business and the potentials. Then next is it helps in anticipating possible problems. So a well-written business plan helps in making forecasts through trends that may impact the business positively and negatively. So as mentioned earlier, it is not easy to prepare a business plan. There would be mistakes along the way of its writing. Having identified all of these flaws should help prevent costly mistakes, waste of time, money, and effort, violate laws and rules and other such offenses, since all aspects of the business are well defined. The next is a business plan helps in remain on track or remaining on track. So writing a business plan includes planning for the future also. Targets set by the entrepreneurs must be monitored objectively. So once a target is not met within a specified period, it is time to look into possible reasons for errors. The next is a business plan helps in good management of the business. So a well-written business plan makes a business much easier and better to handle. It is manageable in knowing what goes where and who is responsible for different duties. So delegation can be done simpler having a well laid out plans. Then second to the last is it helps in budgeting. So finance is vital and necessary for any business survival and growth. Hence, it is a big mistake to get money wasted. So a well-written business plan provides the best application for funds to various aspects of the business. So the plan could offer cheaper alternatives and makes the entrepreneur stays in the budget to avoid needless expenses on the business, which may save money that can be placed into other business operations and our investors. Then, lastly, a business plan helps in the start or continue the business decision. So, the decision to start a business at all or continue with a business or shut it down is very important. So a well-written business plan allows the entrepreneur to decide when a business is not doing well. So the business idea may not be bad at all. Hence, a different approach for the business could be made. So a good business plan always stands a taste of time. All right, so here is the conclusion of our lesson for this meeting. So, the TREAM framework offers a structured approach for entrepreneurs by focusing on team, resources, idea, and market. It helps organize business strategies using tools like the back of the envelope plan, business model canvas, and feasibility study, which guide entrepreneurs in evaluating their ideas, costs, and market opportunities. Additionally, tools such as the pitch deck and business plan enables effective communication with the investors and stakeholders. So by utilizing these resources, entrepreneurs can make informed decisions, minimize risk, and increase the chances of building a successful businesses. So, do you have any questions? None. So, I believe that you have all understood our topic for today, especially the TREAM framework and how it offers a guidance or an effective guidance and some other plans or outlines that could help in growing our business or in achieving a successful business rather. All right, so that is all, and I hope that you have learned something in my report, and I hope that for you who are planning to start a business or to have a business in the future. So I hope that you could try to consider applying the stream framework and those under the stream framework in crafting your business for a successful outcome. Thank you.